With the days of summer winding down and coming to a close, a lot of people are returning to their regular routines of the fall, like work and school. And one of the ways that we can freshen up our spaces that we're going to be spending more time in, maybe at home or a home office. Hi, I'm Emily from Gardenworks, and today Mohsen's going to share his knowledge and expertise with us on how to create a beautiful tropical shelf. So Mohsen, what are the things that we need to consider before we start making our selection of plants for our tropical shelf?
Emily, before we're making our plant wish list, what I suggest is we look at some major environmental factors like humidity and light exposure in your office setup, and also how much time and effort are you willing to spend on your tropical plant at work, basically. I'm finding there are two types of plant parents in general. The basically nurturing and over attendance plant parents, and also those who invest less time and effort on their plants. And thankfully there are plants and accessories for both groups that can help them have a healthy and lush plant shelf at work.
So some indoor spaces have forced air, it's quite dry, really low humidity. What are some options we could look at for a space like that?
There are tons of plants available that do really well in low humidity. One great example being the ZZ plant or Zamioculcas zamiofolia. They do really well as long as you don't overwater them. They can live with even artificial lights. And speaking of the varieties available out there, this particular one is called Raven ZZ. As you can tell, the leaves are really dark. It's almost black, and they look really well with a white pot or any light color desk or shelf.
Right, something to create some contrast with the dark leaves.
Yeah, for sure. Another excellent choice for office plant, and especially if you have low humidity, would be the Sansevierias. They're coming in different size and texture and colors, and some of them are very compact, some of them are upright that you can use as a floor plant, basically. I always joke about Sansevieria that sometimes they last too long, that the person who was working in the office might actually retire and you still have the plant sitting in the office.
So I understand that some plants too are very good for air quality and can improve the air in our homes. Is this one of those plants?
Emily, every plant is doing photosynthesis, so all plants are sort of air purifier. However, the research that NASA have done was on certain plants, and specifically Sansevieria being the iconic one for removing toxins from air. And also there's been further studies later on in 2004 that even the microorganisms within the potting mix are purifying the air and removing toxins from air. And that's another reason that I prefer a potted plant for my office space or living space in general over a cut flower in the water.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about if you're in an environment where, you don't have a lot of humidity, but there's a lot of plants that you love, like ferns or other things that need that moisture content in the air? Like, is there any options to kind of produce that so you can have the luxury of those plants?
Right, for sure. So if you don't want to limit your plant choices to dry-resistant one, you can always invest on a small sprayer or a humidifier for your desk or your plant shelf, basically. One of the newest gadgets we have at Gardenworks is the Mossify Mister with elegant look and the very modern design for an office. It has a USB charger, which you can basically hook it up to your laptop, and other than all those options, you can always use a terrarium. Terrariums are another great option basically for plants that require that really high humidity that our office don't have, and as long as the plant can tolerate the lack of airflow.
So I have east-facing windows in my place, so I don't get the most amount of light. But I am tempted to get something like a succulent or something fancy like that to dress up the area of my existing plants. Is there anything I can do to kind of grow succulents in my place even though I don't have the lighting
Right.
requirements?
There are so many options when it comes to grow lights. You can add a full fixture to your tropical shelf at work, or switch the light bulb of an existing desk lamp to a full spectrum grow light basically, and you're set to go.
So I have a pot at home that I love that does not have a drainage hole, and I understand it's not recommended to always use pots that don't have drainage holes, especially for particular plants that really benefit from the water going all the way through. Can I still plant something in it?
You can absolutely use that beautiful pot that you like that doesn't have drainage. It's not ideal, but you can always use an old grower's pot and place it upside down in your pot and basically plant it from there. So we're just filling up the pot with soil, having the grower's pot inside to create some void space and for oxygen and airflow, and so that the plant's roots are not touching the bottom of the pot, and it's not a saturated setting, so so that it's more porous, and there's more air in the soil, basically in the medium, and that way you can have your stunning alocasia in a pot that doesn't have a hole in the bottom.
Some people who are returning to the work, they're only returning part-time. They might be working from home a little bit and in an office. What are some options to make sure they can keep their plants thriving if they're not there all the time?
Yeah, for sure. So what I learned the hard way is actually that it's always important to have one colleague to be the designated waterer, and not making all your team members to feel like they are responsible to take care of your plants while you're away. That way you're avoiding any overwatering or over fertilizing the plants. And the other great option is, and I mean, I would do it anyways, is to gather all your plants together, have them on a saucer on your desk, and keep them away from direct sun and any breeze that's coming from the windows. That way they're holding the humidity better. And obviously you can always use some of the self-watering solutions like the Plant Pal, which works great, and it's very simple to use.
What are some of the things that we could think about for different size spaces that people have? I mean, some people might have a whole corner of their office to fill with plants, and other people might have something smaller, like just a corner of their desk even.
Right, for sure. Well, one thing I learned is it's much easier when you're making your tropical shelf is to group them, basically. Gather pots that talk to each other and they have the same texture and same color and color coordinator. And and in terms of height, I always try to choose more upright plants for your office because it takes less floor space, and also use plants that are more compact. We covered the Sansevieria. The other option would be Haworthias, that they're very slow grower and they don't really take much space, and really think outside the pot. So maybe
What do you mean by that?
consider some of the air plants that you can have them in any setting. You can have them just hanging out on your table, which looks super cool, or you can have them in a glassware or a terrarium.
Cool. So thank you, Mohsen, today for sharing your ideas and knowledge with us. I know I'm feeling like I have a lot of new things that I could try in my own space. And I'm hoping we've inspired you too to expand your plant collection, take a look at keeping some new varieties in your space that maybe you've never tried before, and help increase the wellness at home or at your office. Thanks for watching.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel.